From the beautiful city of Los Angeles, California, we bring you the Gimme Three podcast.
Welcome back, cinephiles, cinema lovers, movie appreciators, and of course, our family and friends to the Gimme Three podcast, a series for cinephiles. As you all know, or if you're new to the show, this is the podcast where we dive into 3 movies connected by one theme. I'm Bella of Stratus, and I'm joined as always by my brilliant co-host, Nicholas Ibarra. How are you doing today, Nick?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling a little under the weather. However, nothing makes me feel better than talking about movies with my friends. So
yes,
I'm happy to be here for a nice respite from the sickness.
I love to hear it.
If I sound sexier today, everybody at home, that's why.
That's it. Last week, we were joined by the extraordinary horror connoisseur, Jess McLaughlin, and we're so excited to welcome her back today. Jess, how are you doing today?
I am thrilled, beguiled, exuberant. I don't have a word of the day calendar on my desk. I'm just pulling things out of my head to say that I'm very happy to be here.
I love it. Yeah, we're so happy to have you, and we're so excited because today we're bringing you part 2 of our series, Horror Directed by Women. Last week, we dove headfirst into a bloody mystery with Carlotta Peretta's Piggy. We also discussed Coralie Farge's newest and greatest body horror, The Substance. And we rounded out the episode with Ellie Fumi's beautiful horror drama, Our Father, the Devil. So if you haven't watched those films yet, definitely check them out. Every single one is amazing and perfect to watch during spooky season. They all have different levels of horror as well. So if you don't like to be too scared, you should definitely check out Our Father, the Devil. But if you do want something a little more sinister, check out Piggy or The Substance. We'd love to hear what you guys think of them. And then you can go and listen to our episode where we dissect every aspect of them and give you some juicy details about their production as well. So far, I think there's been an obvious trend in all of the films we're talking about in this series, which is the overarching theme that is the horror of being a woman. I think women directing horror was one of the greatest things to happen in cinema because if we're being honest, there can be some pretty horrifying aspects of girlhood, puberty, womanhood, motherhood, all of it. There's so much to be explored, and I absolutely love watching all of these diverse directors take those themes and turn them into deeply personal, relatable, artistic, and incredibly powerful films that are also pretty damn scary, sometimes funny, and definitely disturbing. As I said before, we started this series off strong with our 3 films from last week, and I think we're ending even stronger with 3 more outstanding films by 3 visionary directors. Not only do these films deliver some seriously terrifying moments, but they also challenge us by making us confront the terrors lurking beneath everyday life. Each film is completely different from the next, but every single one has something new to offer, and I can't wait to dive in. So without further ado, Jess, do you want to hit us off with our first horror film of the day?
It would be my pleasure. So our first horror film is 2023's Tiger Stripes, which is directed by Nell Eu, and it follows Zafan, a preteen girl living her best life in a small Malaysian village with her 2 best friends, Farah and Mariam. As it goes, Mother Nature comes along to bestow the infuriating gift of puberty to Zafan, and once she has her period, a rift begins to form between her and her friends, largely due to Farah's jealousy. As Zafan's isolation increases, so do some truly nightmarish changes to her body, and soon Zafan feels closer to the big cats and other mystical things that populate the jungle surrounding her village than the society that tries to keep her in line. So I really love this film, and I could talk at length about it, but I'm not going to dominate the conversation from the beginning. So I would love to know how you guys experienced this film.
I had never heard of this film, so it was really exciting to see something like that, and I really enjoyed it. Getting your period for the first time will probably always be horrifying, so it's really an unforgettable experience, and I love seeing it explored on screen, especially within the genre of horror. because like I said, it's terrifying. And I think it's amazing how there really are so many fun directions that you can take it. And I'll say, like, obviously it isn't the first time we've seen a monster transformation period metaphor kind of thing in horror. But to me, like, that doesn't mean that there are enough out there to begin with. We could always use more. And like I said, there's so many ways to do it. And I thought it was so cool to see this concept portrayed through the lens of Malay culture and mythology. And to add to that, I wanted to say every single time I watch a foreign film or something like that, I feel like I'm realizing just how massive this world is. And sometimes it's overwhelming in a good way, in that I feel like I'm missing out on so many beautiful stories, and just there's so many out there just waiting to be discovered. And Tiger Stripes really gave me this exciting feeling of discovery all over again, just being completely immersed in Zafan's world with her friends and her relationships with her parents, and just the natural beauty of her village and the jungle around it. Everything was just so amazing. And it felt like, I was learning so much about that culture and their beliefs around menstruation within her community through a really campy, spooky, fantastical lens, which just makes this movie so awesome, in my opinion.
Yeah, I really loved the performance of Zafreen Zarzal. Dang it, I'm just butchering names left and right this week. But her range is really incredible, because she does a lot of just, teenagery performance, the stuff that teenagers have to go through and preteens have to go through. And then the arc and transformation of her, like, becoming a woman, but then, becoming this like monster character. She does a lot. She does a lot for a young actor, and she nails most of it. Elements of this film, I think, didn't work for me as much. I liked it. I didn't love it. There were, I think, a lot of missed opportunities. There was, once it gets towards the end of the film, there was like things I wish had happened in the beginning of the film that I think would have made the ending of the film have a stronger impact. Overall, I enjoyed the experience, but it was, there were some missed opportunities, I felt, with this film.
Mm-hmm. I think that's fair. It definitely jumped around a lot, which did kind of confuse me at times, but I think what saved it for me was Zafan and like that performance and her character, because I was just so invested in everything she was going through.
For sure. I agree that the film is not perfect, but what film is? No, I think one of the things that always gets me is because there's this thing that happens in the film kind of at the height of Zafan's transformation. There's kind of this mysterious illness that is spread throughout the school that's almost kind of reminiscent of like the hysteria that plagued convents back in the day, and people would be like, oh, all these nuns are possessed by the devil.
Right.
Yeah. And so I don't think that it was explained clearly enough. I was watching this film with my girlfriend, and she was just like, I don't know what's going on. And I was just like, it's part of it. Just just go with it. And she was like, what, why is everyone on the floor? And I'm like, I can't explain it because I don't know. And I, filled it in with my background knowledge of like, oh, okay, what I just said about like the convents and hysteria. And so like I justified it to myself. But I know that other people coming into it, they don't necessarily have things to fill in the gaps. So they're just like, what is going on? But I think that the heart of this, again, I know last episode we talked about the joy that is apparent in the substance coming from Coralie Farge. And I think the joy that is apparent from Amanda Nell Eu in this film is pretty great. And I know that I'm privileged in the fact that I saw this at AFI Fest in 2023. So I got to see it in a theater, and then Amanda came out after the film and talked about it. So I got to see kind of her, passion for the film and what the stories that she was trying to tell. I also got all kinds of fun facts about the production. So
that's always a good time. Yeah.
Yes.
That always elevates the experience.
Exactly. I am not the common viewer coming into this. I got a special peek behind the curtain. And
That's so cool.
But yes, there's definitely elements of this that could have been clarified and could have been improved. But I do still think that it has a special place in my heart.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's still a strong piece and a strong film, and absolutely worth checking out. There was moments where it could have gone to legendary status, but the setting is kick-ass. And in this film, much like we have in Piggy, we have these very intense mother characters, and we see the impact that they have on young girls growing up. So I thought that was like an interesting connection between the two.
Yeah, I even noticed that in this scene there's a shot of the dad cleaning like the barrel of his gun or something, and we see that in Piggy as well.
Yeah,
I was like, oh my god, what a coincidence! It's so crazy.
I didn't mean to pick when I was sitting and thinking about after I watched the films that I picked for this series. I was like, all of the stuff that I picked was like extremely isolated women who are all like dealing with different ways society or the town or like the space in which they live and their reaction to it, and so I didn't think I had a thematic trend. I guess I did.
I love it.
And that's one of the things that I like about Tiger Stripes is just kind of looking at one of the things you said, Bella, about how big the world is and how many stories there are. I felt that in kind of like another side of the coin of that feeling, where I was like, wow, in watching this, you feel like the world is so big, but look at all of these shared experiences and these common threads of humanity that we have. Where like somebody who is halfway across the world can watch this and is like, oh no, me too.
Yeah.
And so even though our, the places we live in, society and culture and all that stuff is different, it's like, oh yeah, no, I remember the first time that there's a scene where Zafan is like, gets a pair of tweezers and is like plucking the hair that's growing into her mustache, and it's like, ha ha ha, been there.
Same.
And so, and it's in Zafan's case, they're not necessarily just like it's not just normal mustache hair. It's like it's cat whiskers.
Like whiskers.
And fun fact, Amanda Nell Eu said that she used her cat's whiskers. Like she just like collected them.
Oh, no kidding.
And
That's
used
fun.
it for the film.
That is so funny.
That's really great. Yeah, but I also love the not subtle / not so subtle nods to like what women in this small town are like having to go through and the expectations that are putting on them. And there's like one scene when they're in the school early on in the film that kind of underscores this, when I think it's the scene where Zafar pees her pants or something. And she's going through shit, so the audience is kind of honed in on her, but what the teacher is teaching them, they're learning English.
Yeah.
And there's like a simple thing where they're having to fill in the blank on an English sentence. And the 2 sentences that they're doing is the father blank to work. The father goes to work. And then the other one is the mother blank at home. The mother cooks at home.
Yep.
So they're like instilling these gender roles in them, like right in the school. And then that causes like this intense guttural physical reaction from Zafar. So I thought that was like a nice touch. And I think I would have liked a little bit more touches like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was pretty sweet.
One of my, I know that this is going to be a big spoiler, so anyone who's listening, just watch out. You might want to skip this part. But one of my favorite things about this film is the ending, in that we have this sequence where basically Zafan has rejected society, has completely embraced her inner tiger form, and has escaped into the jungle. And Miriam, her friend, goes to the jungle to like join her. And you got Farah. Like, Farah, just like, you didn't make it easy for yourself. You're very unlikable.
Yeah. Yeah.
So good job for the actress who portrays
Yeah.
Farah in the film. But
She was good.
She was
so
really
good.
good. I hated her.
And so Farah follows because she's just like a big old busybody. Like,
Yeah.
and so there's a confrontation between, because like Miriam and Zafan are just like playing in the jungle, and then Farah's like, stop it. And Miriam and Farah have a confrontation where they get into like a tussle, and Farah is cut by what we come to realize is Miriam's claws. So Miriam is turning into a tiger too. So it's not just Zafan, it's more of like the women who become ungovernable are the ones that are, turning into these tigers and escaping into the woods, the jungle, to escape this repressive society. And then it just ends with pure joy of them. I know it's a TikTok, so but like, just Zafan is just like free in the water. She's just dancing.
I love it. I mean, I don't have TikTok, and I don't really know.
It's a trap.
Yeah, it is a trap. But I kind of loved like the incorporation of it in this, because I think it is very relatable for this like new generation. And so many people talk about the sinister side of TikTok and how dangerous it is. And obviously there are certain elements of that are true. But I love, like, in this case, it's kind of just showing kids just want to play and have fun and dance. And we should allow them to be that and do that. And I think a great example of I loved how they showed kind of the darker side of it as well, with the like sensationalized exorcist guy who is like
so
an
funny.
influencer. He's so funny. So funny, but also kind of like so
scary.
Evil. Yeah. Because he's just getting away with like abusing these young girls and preys on the community's fears and superstitions for profit and fame. But yeah, he was really fucking funny in this. But so I really liked the contrast of those two things and how they kind of play into each other, if that makes sense.
No, it makes total sense.
But yeah, I love that ending. I think it's so fun. She's a great dancer too.
Apparently she came up with that all on her own.
No. Wow. Oh, that makes it even better. That's so cute. I know.
It's so cute.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, it's definitely an unexpected ending. You're like, well, that's it. But I love that.
I do have some quick facts if you want me to throw out.
Yes, please.
So this was, I believe, in my research, the first Malaysian film directed by a woman to be featured at Cannes.
Wow. Oh my God.
And it also won Best Feature at Cannes Critics Week.
Oh, wow.
In 2023. And it was the Malaysian submission to the Oscars for Best International Feature.
Nice.
That's so awesome.
Which is so cool that they submitted a horror film.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
huge.
And then granted, they did censor this film in
Yeah.
Malaysia. They cut out some stuff for its release there. And in interviews, Amanda Nell Eu, when asked what they censored, she doesn't go into specifics, but she said they just took out all the joy of being a girl.
Wow.
So
That's sad.
isn't that sad?
Yeah, that kind of breaks my heart.
The place that probably needs to see it uncensored the most.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that was a thought that definitely crossed my mind watching this is like, it's amazing to think that what we're seeing in this could be so shocking to other viewers.
Mm-hmm.
So that was just something that I think, even though it may not be the most incredible film I've ever seen, it really stood out just having that in mind while watching it.
Tiger Stripes, you can check it out on demand. Absolutely check it out. Let us know what you think as well. That is going to bring us to our second film of the episode, which is my pick. You know, I thought about this. I was like, man, when we did our queer horrors episode, which Jess joined us for as well, Jess and Bella, you guys picked these outstanding, genre pushing, artful pieces. And you've done the same here. In the queer horrors episode, I went with a very schlocky 1980s slasher. And that is exactly what I have done here again.
Yes.
Because my pick is 1982's Slumber Party Massacre, directed by Amy Holden Jones, written by Amy Holden Jones and the famed Rita Mae Brown. I'll be quick with the plot because there ain't much of it. We got our main character, Trish, and her gal pals. Their high school tenure is coming to a close. And they just want to have one more girls' night, one more sleepover, one more slumber party, if you will, for old time's sake. And then right across the street from them, we got the new girl at school. I don't know why there's a new girl, as she's about to graduate. But anyways, Valerie and her kid sister, Courtney, they're spending the night alone as well. So you got all these girls and no parental supervision. So both of these houses and these groups of girls are getting, visited by some horned up high school boys. But they're also getting terrorized by this freaking psychopath with a portable drill. And I would tell you what a crazy guy with a giant drill hunting a bunch of teenage girls symbolizes, but I think our audience is smart enough to figure that one out on their own. I'm going to start with Bella on this one, who gave this film 5 stars on Letterboxd, a woman after my heart.
Exposed. Oh my God. I love this movie so much. I think this has been my favorite discovery this every October. I'm like fully dedicated to just watching as many new horror movies as possible that I've never seen. And I'd heard of this one, I think from your Letterboxd, Nick, maybe, or I don't know, maybe you'd mentioned it. And I was like, okay, I got to check this out.
I watch this movie about once a month. So.
Oh my God. Yeah, I've watched it twice already in like the past 2 weeks. Probably going to watch it again. And I just think it's one of the greatest things I've ever seen. Like, I love 80s slasher, just cheesy, campy shit. And this was the first one I'd seen that was directed by a woman, to be honest. And it is just so amazing because it takes the slasher tropes that we've seen countless times before, but I think it completely reinvents it in a way that really pays tribute to the films that came before it, while also paving the path for feminist slashers and feminist horror movies to come. So I love this movie so much. But yeah. Jess, what do you think of it? Had you seen it before?
I had.
Okay, yeah.
And, I have a lot of appreciation for films that are the foundation of where we currently are. And so I appreciate this film from, I think, more of a scholarly point of view. But in terms of like, do I love this film? It's all right. Like, so like all of my notes that I have on it are literally about like, they're all very scholarly and like, let's look at the contextual, like where in the year that it was released, what were other films that were out and like what was it doing and what boundaries was it pushing. But if I sit and watch it as an audience member, I'm just like,
Oh, it's so ridiculous. Yeah. It's like beyond ridiculous.
And so that everyone has context, I think this is a good way to frame our discussion, is that, in the same year that this movie was released in 1982, you have Creepshow, Poltergeist, and we already have like the Friday the 13th and Halloween, like all of those franchises are in full swing with releasing Friday the 13th Part 3 and Halloween 3 at the all in this year. That's kind of the context of where we're at. Also, House on Sorority Row was released this year, and if anyone hasn't seen that, I actually love House on Sorority Row. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Slumber Party Massacre.
Slumber Party Massacre. As Bella said, Amy Holden Jones, Rita Mae Brown, they knew the score. They did. It's like it's a slasher. It's a Roger Corman produced joint, so they know what they literally had to do. They gotta have kills and they gotta have boobies. And
yep,
those are like the rules. But they use them. They use the tropes. They flip them. They subvert a lot of the tropes. And for example, in a lot of slasher films of this time, a lot of the first girls killed were what we call, this is a film school term. Speaking of scholarly terms, this is a scholarly term right here. They're called bimbos. Dumb girls. They even like make fun of it in one of those Geico commercials where all these idiots are trying to escape the killer. They're like, let's not get in the running car. Let's go hide behind those chainsaws.
I love that commercial.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good. It's so good. Those actors are they've been playing that commercial for like 5 years.
Yep.
Those actors are still getting residuals. God bless them. These girls and all the women in this film are not bimbos. These are, smart women. And in the early moments of the film, you have working professional women, which is like, you would be like, okay, duh, big deal. It's like in 1982 kind of was a big deal. Mm-hmm. You got like, they're like contractors and plumbers, it's like, okay, amazing. And then as we talked about with The Substance, Amy Holden Jones takes the male gaze and kind of uses it to milk tension in this film and sometimes make the audience feel uncomfortable watching a bunch of boobies and butts, which is, not the standard for a Roger Corman joint at this time.
Right.
Yeah.
So they did a lot to subvert the expectations. They did a lot of fresh things. It is a brisk 75 minutes, so it is a harmless good fun. Yes. It had a budget of $220,000, very low budget, and it grossed $3.6 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which, of course, immediately sparked 2 sequels. And I don't know if you guys have seen the second one, but
I have not.
I think I started it and fell asleep.
It's a musical.
What?
Yeah. It is a musical.
Immediately interested.
It's about 1,000 times better than Joker 2 Folie à Deux. I'll tell you that right now.
I love horror musicals.
Same.
This is also the only franchise to this day that has only female directors.
Hey,
wow, that's awesome.
A female director directed all 3 of the Slumber Party Massacre films.
That is so cool.
That is according to Joe Bob Briggs. So if somebody wants to correct me on that, take it up with him. But I certainly couldn't think of any franchises with that claim to fame. So I think it checks out.
Nick, I'm so glad that you used the word bimbos.
Bimbos. It's a scholarly term. I didn't come up with it.
No, exactly, because I have, in my notes that one of the things that's great about this movie is that like men are equal opportunity victims.
Yeah.
And they're also himbos. Like they're not like the women in this film are much more grounded and intellectual, and then the men are just like, I like women, I like boobs, I'm gonna go to this slumber party. What? Somebody's killing people?
Right.
They're like, we need to run. Like
It's so good.
And you also have I love them skewering the tropes of like, we all know anyone who's watched enough horror movies knows like that some of the rules to survive a horror movie is don't drink, don't do drugs, don't have sex. And you have, granted, some of the people do die who do those things, but you also have like all the girls are at this party, the slumber party, are smoking weed, they're drinking, they're having, like horny thoughts over at Valerie's house, like Valerie's little sister's reading Playgirl.
Yeah.
Like,
that's so sweet.
I love it.
And they bond over it about being horny. Like, it's just, you have all of these things that normally would spell a death sentence that they're skewering by being like, no, this is just kind of normal teenage girl stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally. Even like that makes me think of in that main shower, like in the opening scene, pretty much. They immediately tackle the male gaze with this like obscenely overt shot of just all the girls showering, like boobs, butt. It's like going up and down, and it's so ridiculous. And it's such a scathing shot. But I've noticed that while they're doing that, the girls are talking about male athletes and their bodies, and I just love it because there's like such a great irony there of like while they're being objectified, they're also objectifying men.
Yeah, totally.
It's just a lot of fun.
I also love that they have appetites in terms of like they're eating the whole time.
Oh my god, yes.
And one of my favorite things is it's like it's a small scene, but like it's probably one of my favorite scenes is when the killer kills like the pizza guy who brings the pizza, and then like the pizza's just been like sitting under this body for a while, and then they're like, you know what, I'm just like really hungry. Like
one of the girls goes,
she's such a good line.
She goes, oh, the body's it's already cold. And she goes, is the pizza cold though?
Yeah.
It's so good. And then she says, well, life goes on and eating makes me feel best. And I feel bad. Oh boy, do I feel bad. And then she like takes a bite and she's like, I feel better already.
I know. And it's Jackie who's in like this little like peignoir set. Like this little like way overdressed for this slumber party.
It's ridiculous. I love it. Yeah, I love all the different characters too. Like they're not they all are like kind of their own personalities as well. Like they're not just all a bunch of dumb girls, which as we've been saying, and then I love like Coach Jana, the basketball coach. I think she's such a funny addition to this of like their savior.
Yeah. I also love that they just randomly like call up their teacher on like a Friday night late at night to talk about the game. They're like, we can't remember who won what in this game. Let's call our teacher.
While they're like smoking that Maui Wowie. Also, Mr. Contant, the neighbor.
He's so creepy.
Freak, dude. Oh my god. I'm not totally sure what the point of his character is besides just being like another creepy guy and kind of like, I guess, throwing you off from like, but it doesn't really throw you off from who the killer is because they show you him like right at the beginning.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's kind of just a funny, I think, well, I will say one thing that he plays into really well, I think, is how Oh, I love how the cinematography with the male gaze and with like the POV shots will kind of trick you. There's this great scene where it's like POV of someone in a car following one of the girls home from school, and then it gets out of the car and you see like the hand grab her, and then she like flips him over her head onto his back, and it's just some dumb boy. She's like, you need to learn to fall better.
Right.
But in that moment you're like, oh shit, here we go, like she's gonna get killed. And then you're like, oh, this is just another version of kind of weaponizing the male gaze again, of like how scary that can be too. I just love all the different like tricks they do with that. Even Mr. Content being in the house when she comes back, it's like, dude, what are you doing here? Like, this is so odd. And he's like, don't tell your parents, I scared you. It's like, it's just wrong.
And then he goes out looking for snails.
He's just fucking
all snail hunt,
hacking snails with a machete.
Oh,
Like, I don't.
That detail had me howling at the screen. I was like, what is this a thing? And then she confirms it. She's like, yeah, my dad does that too. I was like, no, this cannot be a thing.
She's
like,
just
I don't think you need a machete to hack snails, bro. You could just
right. You just like pour some salt on them.
It's so violent.
I don't condone snail violence, but if one were to dispatch snails, I don't think a machete is the best means.
A machete is yeah. And then my favorite trick, of course, is when Coach Jana goes home and the drill comes straight through her front door, and then it's just like the maintenance woman like, oh, sorry, I was just putting in your peephole. It's like, what? It's so good. Oh my god, I love it.
I would be remiss if I didn't talk about this is a spoiler for the end, when there's the final confrontation between Valerie and like Trish and Courtney, and the driller killer. I know that's a different thing. I'm not copyright infringement. I don't know. There's a whole nother driller killer, in horror. So, but like the fact that Valerie cuts his drill in half, like the literal emasculation, I was like, I'm here for it.
Yes.
Totally.
I love that.
Tell me what you ladies think of this, because I don't know if maybe I'm reading too much into it. But I've seen this movie a few times, This was the first time where I like sat with the ending for a little bit longer because, spoiler alert, not really a spoiler alert. They get the driller killer. Like, they dispose of him, and these three women, Trish, Valerie, and Courtney, are the ones left alive. And the camera just hangs on their faces a minute before it just fades to black, and they're like crying and stuff. Yeah. And there's no denouement. There's no epilogue. We're just left with kind of like these three kind of broken, scarred women after having dealt with this like pretty traumatic event.
Yeah.
So despite the film being like tonally pretty light, it's a light romp of a slasher.
Yeah.
I was like, I think maybe this is a rather dramatic, contemplative ending, and maybe Amy Holden Jones is like talking about how, the effects that male predators have on women, and that it doesn't, these effects don't go away. I don't know. Maybe it was just the weed talk, and maybe I was smoking a little too much Maui Wowie, but I was like, man, this movie's fucking deep,
I don't think that's like a reach, because at the end, the note that I wrote at the end was the therapy bills for the final three must be immense.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. In a way, the abrupt ending leaves you with that final thought of like, what are they feeling right now? And you see it all on their face. It's probably the darkest part of the movie, to be honest.
Yeah. Right. Right. Well, if you want to know what happens, you can check out Slumber Party Massacre Part 2, where Courtney is the main character.
Oh, God.
Oh, my God. She was fucking hilarious. I don't know what her deal was, but she was hilarious. Like, that scene when when she tricks Valerie and she's like laying down outside the house and she does like a little horse neigh to come to like scare her. And then she's like, what's wrong? It's like, what's wrong with you, dude?
I was getting so annoyed every time I watch it. I get so annoyed at Courtney because I'm like, read the room. Like, there's all this shit going on, and your sister's like freaked out, and then it's like, oh, I'm just gonna lay on the ground and pretend I'm dead. It's gonna be so funny.
Good.
Like,
I love it. I feel like it's like classic little sibling vibes of just like, oh, you could not be more annoying in this moment. And this is the worst time to be doing that.
I will say, I don't know if anyone else felt this way, or maybe it's just me reading too far into things. See, Nick had his thing. I have mine. Where I think Trish and Valerie are interested in each other.
Yes, I was waiting for that to come up. The eye contact in the shower.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my god.
No, they're like totally into each other. And,
no, totally.
Also, I love that they do have Valerie as kind of like this, instead of a knight in shining armor, it's, Valerie is the knightress. I don't know what's the female version of a knight. There isn't one because of misogyny, but so you have this knight in shining armor of Valerie coming and saving Trish with her squire Courtney. And you have it's like a woman is coming in and saving the day and getting the girl.
Yeah.
Oh,
I love that. It's so good. Yeah, I love that. I love that ending too. I love how the three of them take him down. Like they're all just wailing on him. It's so good.
Well, Rita Mae Brown, the co-writer of this film, is widely considered to be one of the great lesbian writers.
Yes.
Mm.
Even though she's not a lesbian, I believe she's alluded many times to the fact that she's bisexual. But check out her book, Ruby Fruit Jungle. That's a great book.
There's also, if you are located in Los Angeles and you want to go to a great wine bar that is also, a safe space for the queer community and also a lesbian bar, it is called the Ruby Fruit in Silver
I was
Lake.
like, I swear I've heard of that. Yeah.
Yes, and it's named after the Ruby Fruit Jungle.
Oh, that's so awesome.
She was way ahead of her time, this Rita Mae Brown. She, in the 60s, she fought the National Organization for Women because she made the statement, "I don't believe in gender." She was like one of the first people to come out for and speak about gender fluidity and stuff like that. So,
wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool, Miss Rita Mae Brown. And she knows how to write a slasher.
Yeah.
Very true.
Last bit of trivia. Amy Holden Jones was the director of this film. She was Martin Scorsese's assistant for Taxi Driver.
No way.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And she was an editor also. She actually turned down the editing gig for E.T., the extraterrestrial, to direct this film.
Wow.
You
God
go, girl.
Bless. Yeah.
Which, in my opinion, this film is far better than E.T., the extraterrestrial.
Whoa.
Uh-oh. Shots fired.
Bella, let me ask you a question. How many boobs are in E.T., the extraterrestrial? I'll tell you right now. 0.
Oh, God.
0.
Damn it. I got cooked.
How many boobs are in Slumber Party Massacre?
So many.
So
19.
many.
So many boobs.
19.
Did you sit there and count them?
I didn't, but
Somebody did.
I had my assistant count them. Slumber Party Massacre. It is available to stream on Shudder, I believe. So check it out if you haven't already. It's a slasher classic. And then if you really want to get nuts, Slumber Party Massacre 2, the musical. It's a wild ride.
That's going to go at the top of my to watch list.
Yes, absolutely.
Good luck.
Third and final. So now we have my selection for this theme. And this was one of the easiest choices I've made on the podcast. This film is my absolute favorite horror movie and one of my favorite movies of all time. I think it's a one-of-a-kind masterpiece. And my bold statement of the day, haven't done that in a while, I personally have yet to see another modern horror movie that I think matches this level of terror, emotional depth, visual artistry, and creativity. So allow me to introduce Jennifer Kent's legendary psychological horror, The Babadook. Released in 2014, The Babadook marked Jennifer Kent's directorial debut, and it was based on a short film that she made in 2005 called Monster. The film premiered at Sundance the same year, but it has gained a much larger following, solidifying its status as a cult classic. So over time, the Babadook himself has become an internet legend and a queer icon. If you're a fan of RuPaul's Drag Race, you've probably seen Miles Jai's iconic Babadook drag from season 9 that really cemented this character as a beloved icon in the queer community. I almost picked this film for our queer horror episode. Anyways, the film stars Essie Davis as Amelia, a widowed single mother who's trying to juggle a demanding job while raising her frequently difficult son, Samuel, played by Noah Wiseman. And at first, Samuel seems like your typical 6-year-old. He loves magic, bugs, playing pretend, but his recent obsession with making homemade weapons to protect his mother from monsters is a bit much.
A bit much.
A bit much. This becomes a real problem. And maybe it already is, but it gets really bad when Samuel brings one of his makeshift weapons to school, leaving Amelia no choice but to keep him at home. And that night, when picking out a bedtime story, Sam chooses this mysterious red book called Mr. Babadook. As Amelia starts reading it to him, she's immediately disturbed because it's literally the creepiest fucking children's book you've ever seen. And it has a terrifying story as well. And so naturally, Sam is terrified, refuses to sleep alone at night. Things only escalate when Amelia tries to leave him with her sister and her niece while she goes to work the next day. But Samuel's fear spills over and scares his cousin, forcing Amelia to pick him up. So over the next few days, Samuel's obsession with the Babadook is consuming their lives, and Amelia is really struggling to cope. Sleep deprived and still mourning her husband's death, Amelia is completely pushed to her limits. And as their situation worsens, the Babadook's presence grows stronger and stronger, until Amelia and Sam are forced to confront this sinister entity. I have so much to say about this film, but I want to pass it over to you guys first to see what you think of it.
Okay, I had not seen this film before.
Oh my God, that makes me so happy.
So this was a new watch, and this was the type of movie that, like, when it started, I was like, "Oof, I don't like this," and I'll even just read you some of my random notes here,
Yes, please. Oh my God.
Just so you can get like the real time,
Yes.
evolution of me going like, I don't like this, to being like, oh fuck, this movie kicks ass. I just put, I don't trust odd little white boy, seen too many mass shootings. Little boy reminds me of A Clockwork Orange, don't trust. Little boy, hella annoying, please get out of my face. Mom says, why can't you just be normal? And then little kid screams bloody murder, LOL.
Oh my God, I love this.
But once the movie starts to present itself in what it's really about, and this very intricate emotional mystery. It's not a plot mystery. It's an emotional mystery.
Right.
Once this thing starts to unravel,
holy gosh, it just becomes totally gripping and enthralling. And by the end, I was very, very moved. And when it finished, I said, fucking A, I want to watch that again.
Yes.
So I was very, very impressed with this film. The performance by the lead. Whew, I mean, we've talked about some great performances over these 2 episodes.
Yeah.
In my opinion, this one might take the cake.
Yeah.
I wouldn't argue with you.
Same.
She does so much, man. And it's just fucking exhausting, the fucking shit she's put through in this. I mean,
yeah.
The exhaustion just permeates through the screen. It's just, she's got this kid and she's got this trauma and she's got this monster and she's just at her wit's end and she's like oh my gosh, she does so much. But before I start rambling, just your thoughts on it.
So I love what you said about the kid, because let me tell you, every time I watch this movie, for the first half, I'm like, and this is going to sound really intense, and I don't really mean this, everyone. But for the first half, I'm always like, the kid could die. The kid could die.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it because I am so tired. Like what you said about in the car, Nick, when it was like, just be normal, and he starts screaming bloody murder. When that scene happens, I'm always like, I hate this kid so much. And then, the kid has a redemption arc, and, but I always forget that. I always forget that the kid gets better. So when I look, like, when enough time passes and I think about the Babadook, I'm always just like, oh God, that kid.
That fucking kid.
And then when I watch it, I'm like, oh yeah, he's like protecting his mom, and he's like, okay, I kind of like the kid now. But like, oh man, the beginning is rough.
He wins you over.
Which is such a impressive feat, because
It's
like you
very
said
impressive.
at the beginning, you're like, fuck this fucking kid.
I don't care if he lives or dies.
Yeah,
Ugh.
but by the end, I'm like rooting for them.
Yeah.
I mean, that is hard work.
It's very hard work. And I think that there's a lot that I could talk about with this film. And there's other people that I do want to shout out in a second who have done research into kind of some of the topics that this film delves into, and have really put things together in a very beautiful way about just kind of like how this is a evolution of Gothic literature, where this is, because the home in Gothic literature, it's very much deemed like the women's space. And so, have a lot of Gothic literature that are like women alone in haunted houses. And so this is kind of an extension of that for the modern day, where, she is in a haunted house, but it's a house haunted by her. And her grief, and it's so like, it's just a beautiful film. There's so much to talk about. And the performances are amazing, and it's just so good. It's so good.
So good. This movie, it's just, every time I watch it, I'm like, damn, how is it possible that I forget how good it is every time I watch it? And then I'm like re-experiencing that all over again. I think I definitely want to shout out Noah Wiseman as Samuel, because what a performance. And he was only 5 years old when they cast him, which is just insane to me.
That's wild.
Yeah, I was watching this interview with Jennifer Kent, and she was talking about how when they cast him, she took him to the zoo, and she was just telling him the story through Sam's eyes, because they wanted to make sure they really protected him from like the terrifying elements of this film. Right. And so I guess Jennifer told him that Sam is the hero. And she said that when she said that to him, a light turned on inside of him. And from there, he just like completely understood his role. Like he knew he was the most important person in the story. And I love that anecdote, because I think you can see that in the film. Like he knows exactly what needed to be done. And it's amazing to watch from someone who's that young.
No, it's so cool. Like, and even though he is really, oh man, like at the beginning, in the first part of the film, it's like, do I want to have children?
Yeah.
Do I want to have to put up with this? But like then, and his performance is also kind of retroactive too, where like once he starts winning you over, you then see what he was trying to do at the beginning.
Yes. Yeah.
And so you're like, oh, okay, like all of the time. And it makes so much sense what you were just saying about like the fact that he thought he was the hero, because that is what he's doing. He is like, I'm going to protect us. I'm going to save us.
Right.
And we are just operating with a lack of information where we're like, we don't know what this kid's doing. Why is he doing this? Why is he like, this kid is a lot, but he is on a mission to save him and his mother.
Yeah. It's so sweet.
It
yeah.
is.
I love the third act for that reason alone, because, kind of to what you were saying, Nick, in the beginning, where you're like, oh god, this is like kind of boring, or like I don't know where this is going. I love that third act because it shows everything that we saw in the first, and is like, that's why we built this up so much, like all of his booby traps, all of his weapons, like just showing that everything this kid was doing was kind of just self-preservation, but also looking out for his mother, if that makes any sense. Like it all comes full circle.
It does. And even the book, like when you think about, I mean, there's one line thrown in at like the birthday party of the niece, where it's like, oh, you're a writer, what did you used to do? And she was like, oh, I used to write, Amelia's like, I used to write some articles and some children's books. And so then you have the realization later, like, oh shit, did she write the book?
She wrote the Babadook book.
Yeah. She wrote the book, and the reason it keeps coming back is like she's bringing it back as a way to like warn herself of what's coming, and the fact that like if she doesn't do something, she is going to fall prey to the grief and the likely unchecked mental illness that is going to ravage her and destroy her and her son.
Yeah,
it's absolutely. Just so it's so smart.
It's
very smart. It's very, very smart, this film.
Which I feel like we kind of rarely see in horror. Like, I don't know, maybe that's an unfair statement to make, but sometimes I feel like it is.
I think it's an unfair statement.
You didn't see my face, but my eyebrows knitted together there for a second.
Everybody, people like to use this term that I hate. It's called elevated horror. I hate that term because
preach Nick.
It just undermines the genre.
I actually do agree with that, because there's always so much to be explored, even in like, obviously, we dissected Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
Right.
So,
Electric Boogaloo. I mean, even the movie we just talked about, Slumber Party Massacre. Like, Amy Holden Jones and Rita Mae Brown, like they had, different parameters for which they were making this film, but they were very smart in their approach of how they did it.
That's very true.
And like, I read so much stuff about horror. It's like the only thing that I consume. So it all blends together. So I can't give credit to whoever said this, but I saw something recently that was talking about I think it was part of either them or Autostraddle. They are doing these campaigns like of different articles and stuff for October. And I think Autostraddle is doing one that's called like Horror So Gay. And in one of the articles, they were talking about how the horror genre is a bastion of like, it's a safe space for the other, which we all know. And the fact that this term elevated horror keeps coming up is in like recent discussions about the genre is more to do with the fact that what has always been there is now overt, because it's like safer in mainstream culture and media to start talking about stuff more directly, but stuff has always been there. It's just been very buried. There have been so many movies about like so many things that are a lot deeper. Like if you even just look at Night of the Living Dead was talking about police brutality and PTSD of soldiers coming home from war. Like it just wasn't overt about it. And so now we have lots of beautiful films that get the space to talk about things out in the open and in depth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I take back what I said.
None of that was said with any sort of malice, Bella.
I'm joking. Oh, I love it though. It is so true. And I think that's also why I love this movie. You know, some people will say that this movie kind of like bangs you over the head with the grief metaphor, but I personally don't think it does. Or if it does it well. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, I don't think so, because it took me a while to, I mean, obviously the fact that she's grieving is not like hidden.
Right.
It's a plot point that is introduced early on in the film, like almost immediately.
Yeah.
But the Babadook being her grief and the realization that you can't like kill the Babadook, you can only manage it, like that, I think plays out they take their time to play that out, and once you figure it out, it is quite beautiful. Like that to me was not over the head. In fact, it was like pretty intricately folded out.
That's what I think too. I mean, I remember the first time I watched this just feeling like my mind had been blown into pieces. Like I just was like, this is so profound. So yeah,
it's necessary. Like, because it's so complex. Like they're doing a lot of heavy lifting.
Yeah.
So, you know, like creating this character and what does it represent, and like, you know, I think it's just the right amount.
Yeah. I'm happy to hear that. I also want to shout out like the character design of the Babadook. I think it's so fun. And one thing that I noticed in pretty much all the films we've talked about in this series, and I've just been thinking about a lot recently, is I am getting so frustrated with seeing like CGI in horror instead of practical effects.
Mm-hmm.
Because lately in all these movies we've watched, a lot of them, if not all of them, have used practical effects for their kind of body horror or like monsters, whatever it is. And I just watched Hellraiser for the first time, which had some of like the best practical effects I've seen in a long time.
Oh yeah.
And it just made me so mad because I was like, why are we not doing this? Specifically like stop motion animation for horror, I think was like, I don't know why we stopped doing that as much as it used to be, you know? I'm sure some people still are, but we definitely don't see it as much as we used to in like 80s horror.
Yeah.
And I learned that the Babadook for all his scenes was practical effects, like stop motion animation, which I think is what made it look so, I don't even know what word to describe, because it's not like realistic, but I think that's what makes it even scarier. In a way.
It looked like something out of a nightmare. Like
yeah, exactly. Especially the way he like shapeshifts and stuff too. Like
right.
There's just something about it. And then I was reading that Jennifer Kent was inspired by kind of like old silent films. Obviously there's that one amazing scene where she's watching TV and the Babadook's like woven into some old George Méliès movies.
Mm-hmm.
And she was really inspired by that, and Lon Chaney, who directly inspired, like she's like, I basically stole his costuming and his character design for the Babadook. Because she said she wanted him to kind of look like something a child would imagine. And I think that was just perfect.
Yeah.
And the design in general, like, it has a timelessness to it where, you know, even what they chose to put Amelia in, you have like these vintage dresses and stuff that's a little bit more classic, so that the timelessness, you know, it makes it feel like this could be taking place at any time. And I love that you were talking about the old movies, Bella, because as the film person, as I was watching, I was like, these are in the public domain. You don't have to pay.
Right.
Like, I was like, I wonder if this was a budgetary thing, but then like, you know, a budgetary thing that they like transformed into something that became integral. But it's nice to hear that it was also inspiration for Jennifer Kent, because that also added to the timelessness of this, that she's always watching these old movies. So it takes place. It's kind of like the first film that people usually talk about with timelessness of recent memory is It Follows, being kind of out of time in the horror space. So like this being right along with it. And I think it's so funny. They both were released the same year.
Oh, no way.
They were both released in 2014.
Wow. I need to revisit It Follows. That's such a great one.
It is.
All right, this is the point of the show where Nick gives his 2 favorite lines of the movie. Here they go.
Yes, I'm so excited.
If you're really hungry, why don't you go and eat shit?
I knew it. I was like, he's going to love that one.
Because I've used it before. I was like, wait a second. Did they
That's
steal
my line.
That's my fucking line. My second one is it only works in context of the action, which is the little boy stabs his mom in the leg, and then he runs away and he goes, "Sorry, mommy."
Oh, it's so good.
Love it.
I love that.
Yeah, I was totally delighted and moved by this picture, and I really, really impressed, and I'm looking forward to a rewatch. And Jess, you mentioned the short film that for Piggy that came before the feature Piggy. There's a short film that came before this. It's called Monster that Jennifer Kent did. So check that out. That is also available on YouTube, and it's shot in beautiful black and white, 16 millimeter. It looks like.
Ooh.
Oh, love
it.
Yeah, very, very cool. Very, very cool short. Also, just a little bit of trivia on Jennifer Kent. She was an actress back in the day when she was younger, and then she saw a Lars von Trier movie, and she said, "You know what? I think this directing thing is what I want to do." So she actually wrote a letter to Lars von Trier and said, "Hey, I want to be your apprentice, and I'm a big fan of your work, and I want to be a director, and I'll just do anything to work under you." And Lars von Trier responded, and he was like, "Fucking A, come work on my next movie." So she was a production assistant on Dogville, and got to watch von Trier in action, which on that movie meant a lot of watching him yell at Nicole Kidman. But but anyway, apparently that inspired her. She was like, "Yep, this is what I want to do." And then after working on that movie, she went and made Monster, the short film.
Wow.
And while you're on YouTube watching Monster, I said I wanted to shout out, there is a wonderful film festival in Berlin that's called Final Girls Berlin. And every year they do a free set of horror conversations and seminars that are on Zoom. And I partake every year because they're great. And in 2023, they had one that was a maternal horror panel. So on their YouTube, the Final Girls Berlin Film Festival YouTube, they have it recorded, the maternal horror panel. And the first one is an excellent talk with Ariel McLeese, who is a writer-director, woman in horror herself, about reclaiming monstrous motherhood. And then the second talk in the panel is If Mama Ain't Happy, Ain't No Happy Home. Maternal Despair as Parallel to Domestic Decay by Rhonda Jackson Joseph. And Rhonda slays the house down. And and talking about this connection with Gothic literature and how she is the one that I got that nugget of knowledge from, about how this film in particular, like the decay of the mental faculties and facility of the main character is reflected directly in the surroundings of the house, and it just starts falling apart. And also Rhonda pulls examples from other films as well. So definitely give that a look if you're interested in the Babadook and all the stuff that we've been talking about.
Love that. Definitely will check that out.
Any final thoughts on the Babadook?
I just want to know what was in the water in 2014 because when I looked up It Follows, like to see when it came out, I was like, I wonder if they they're both kind of timeless. And so then I was looking and I was like, wait, that was 2014 too. So I looked up the list of everything that was released in 2014 in terms of horror. And that had It Follows, The Babadook, A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, What We Do in the Shadows.
Wow.
I was like, what was happening? And that's also, in terms of major franchises, that's when the first Annabelle came out. There was Purge movies and Paranormal Activities coming out. Also, Last Shift came out, if anyone's seen that. That's a good one.
Ooh. Wasn't that also, have you guys seen Creep?
Yes, Creep came out in 2014.
I'm a big fan of Creep.
The list for 2014 is insane. I was like, I can't talk about all of these, but yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. I'll have to do a horror 2014 episode.
It's the 10-year anniversary of that year right now.
It is.
Yeah, this is the 10-year anniversary of Babadook.
Babadook. Check it out, my friends. It is available to stream on Netflix, I believe.
It's also on Shudder.
And Shudder as well. So check it out. If you haven't seen it, it is absolutely worth watching. Let us know what you think of it. And my friends, that is going to do it for this installment of the Gimme Three podcast. But as I mentioned earlier, stick around because we've got one more episode coming your way highlighting horror films directed by women. This one, an interview with the wonderful Kat Shea. We talked about Roger Corman today. Kat directed some films for Roger Corman. She did films like Strip to Kill and Streets. She also directed Poison Ivy and Carrie 2. The Rage, Carrie 2. My apologies. In the meantime, please let us know what you think of these films. Let us know what you think of The Babadook. Let us know what you think of Slumber Party Massacre. And let us know what you think of Tiger Stripes. We want to hear your thoughts. And you could do that by messaging us on Instagram at Gimme Three Podcast. That's GIMME, spell out 3 podcast. Gimme Three Podcast. You can also send us a text message by scrolling down to our episode description and clicking the link that says send us a text message. You can let us know what you think of these films and more. Just tell the folks where they can find you on the socials.
They can find me on most socials at the OrigMC, and that is at symbol TheOrigMC.
And Bella, tell the fine folk where they can find you on the socials.
And you guys can find me on Instagram at Portrait of a Cinephile or on Letterboxd at Beth Stratus. That's just B and then my last name, F Stratus.
You can find me on Letterboxd at Nicholas Ibarra. Ibarra is spelled with a Y. On Instagram at Nicholas Ibarra. And on Twitter, also known as X, at Nicholas P. Ibarra. And the P stands for Party. Slumber Party.
Yes.
That does it for us, my friends. Thank you all for listening to the Gimme Three podcast, and we will see you